In the covering note to this event, I deliberately did not write what I would have written any other year, which is, come, let's celebrate Tu B'Shvat. I wrote, let's be reminded of what Tu B'Shvat is about, renewal, survival, life, vitality. That's something we need to remember in these difficult times. I'd like just a moment of silence. I know you're all on mute, but silence. In recognition of the very difficult times that we're in, and the tremendous loss of lives, and our soldiers yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before, all the way back to October the 7th. So just as an introduction, a number of people ask me, what is Tu B'Shvat about? And you know, every kindergarten in this country is singing Tu B'Shvat songs and the birthday of trees, and looking out my window. Well, if it was daytime, I'd look out my window, I would see the almond tree in my garden blossoming, even in the depth of winter. And many years it's snow on the ground here in Jerusalem, and the almond trees are blossoming, and they're blossoming in the Judean hills, and we go on trips and walking to see the most beautiful blossom. It's sort of a little bit like the cherry tree in Japan. Watching this symbol of the wild almonds blossoming way before spring is here, as a reminder that winter is ending, spring is coming. And there is no mention in the Torah of this day. Nobody knows exactly where it comes from. It's mentioned the first time in the Mishnah, in Rosh Hashanah, that there are 4 new years. Some we know, and one of them is the New Year of Trees, which is disputed either on the 1st of this lunar month or the 15th, when it's full moon. That's a dispute between the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai, and the accepted date is tomorrow evening, the 15th of the month of Shvat. And it's just a method of counting when a tree is first planted and when it yields its fruit. Very, very simple. No mention of it is for hundreds of years, until the Kabbalists of Tzfat used the tree as a mystical symbol, the tree of life, and created the festival, not just a calendar point, but a festival to celebrate the tree as part of spiritual ascent, as part of the Svirot, the tree of life. And then with the Zionist revival, it became a great day of celebrating the fertility of the land. I don't know how many of you have ever planted a tree in Israel on Tu B'Shvat, or a tree anyway on Tu B'Shvat, but it's now a festive day. And we will read our poetry to connect into this day in whichever way you have seen fit, directly, obliquely. Some of the poetry is very dark, some of the poetry is very light. I want to thank everybody who has contributed and will be reading this evening. Karen, do you want to add anything? This is an event by the Israel Association of Writers in English, I should say that, and we have regular events, and Karen is our chairperson.
I'm very glad that you asked me, Michael. The the Israel Association of Writers in English is really delighted to welcome you and to have this generous introduction to a holiday that is uh, not considered in any way religious in Israel now, and yet is celebrated by everyone. I don't think there is a child who has not planted a tree. And now I understand we're going back to planting trees from Keren Kayemet uh, to rebuild the South that has been so uh, terribly destroyed. Uh, but this wonderful means by which we can, we have this, we could create something else today. We can create not only do we plant trees, but we can also create poetry, and to and this kind of event helps us to share this wonderful idea, and by providing the poetry, we inspire others to poetry as well. Poetry is something that continues to grow. When you read it once, you read it again, you hear it, and you'll hear it again because we're recording it. And may the work that is here presented become more lovely and more beautiful with the years. I want to thank you, Michael, from the bottom of my heart for your selfless efforts in these difficult times, for reminding us that we have happy holidays we can share as well, while flowers and trees destroyed can grow again and often grow more green and more fresh than before. And I want to thank you all, poets and participants, for being here to share this event. I think for creating a garden out of our individual efforts. Uh, Enjoy the evening, all of you, and have a wonderful bshvat.
Thank you. I want to add one more thing that there is a hint in the Torah, and it is used by the Kabbalists, that the tree is us. We are the tree. And that's how the tree of life is in the shape, if you want, symbolic shape of a human being. And so, to add to Karen's words, may we have the opportunity to blossom. So, let me share screen. So, before we start, I just want to this image that you see is almond blossom from my garden laid on my iPad um, casing, which I bought in Amsterdam, which is a detail of a Van Gogh showing almond blossom or maybe another blossom. And two poems at least in our collection today refer to Van Gogh. So I don't know if that was inspired by this picture or by coincidence. So I want to also, before we start, in memory of a Russian Jewish poet who was killed, and most people think murdered, 10 days ago, Lev Rubinstein. You can read about him if you didn't know about him. An eminent Russian poet. Who's that in the yellow fog, coming closer and closer, now like shadows on the screen, now like air, now like water? Who's that in the yellow fog? Rushing forward, rushing headlong. Is he trapped in a nirvana? Does he even know himself? To the memory of Lev Rubinstein, the latest victim as a Jewish poet of Russian tyranny. And with that, I'd like to invite James from Australia to read first. So please take yourself off mute, and after you finish, go back on mute. And if you want to introduce your poem in any way, please feel free.
Thank you. The poem is not about trees. It's about resilience, natural resilience. And I should say that an Israeli space mission took tardigrades to space and it crashed into the moon. No individuals involved, but tardigrades involved, and they may still be alive on the moonscape. Tardigrade. I'm an 8-legged creature, unseen to the naked eye. Despite my microstatus, my complexity boggles the best minds. I have salivary glands and a digestive tract. I go where I wish, glowing lava fields, Antarctica. Chernobyl is home to my Ukrainian cousins, and a space team shepherded me to the moon to gauge my survival skills of superheroic scope. The pressures of 6,000 atmospheres? No sweat. Minus 270 degrees centigrade? A cinch. I have endured 5 mass extinctions dating back 500 million years. Tun state is my genetic blessing, a transformative deep sleep, neither life nor death, so serene. I reach it by draining my body dry, all fluids released, before I morph into a ball, an impregnable fortress. Hello, cryptobiosis, and trehalose, a sugary lubricant that protects my cryptocells and prevents the withering of my organs. But alas, invincibility is not mine, for many a mini creature finds me delectable. I lie low and shy away from the neighbors.
And people
Michael, did you want me to
people are invited to
read the
go
next one?
off mute at the end of a reading to clap or to cheer, or but then go back on. Yes, and now. Does anyone want me to make the letters larger? Okay, just a moment.
Please.
I take it, Michael, you'd like me to read the second poem
I
or
would
not?
indeed. Yes, just one moment, please. Please.
I live in the Blue Mountains, an hour and a half from Sydney. It's wilderness heritage. It was a blessing during coronavirus. We had terrible fires at the same time. After the fires, while us mountain residents chat on the Ashen Crown, a child dreamily circles a damaged tree nearby. She stops and announces that the tree, unlike Barak, her war veteran neighbor, doesn't have to worry about missing limbs because who knows how many there were before. The adults laugh and then hush, subdued by the pace of nature's rejuvenation. A scribbly gum is shedding its damaged exterior to reveal an intricate scripting of new bark. Green shoots break free of the black earth at our feet. I amble away and glance towards the city, a distant mirage. I whisper a soft prayer of thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, James, very much. And thank you for joining us.
Good
My
morning.
pleasure.
Hi, everyone. I assume that Michael is waiting for me.
Yes.
I'm
Just let me spot
inspired just for a moment by things that were said just before we started reading about Tu B'Shvat and about, in my perspective, my Sephardic heritage. And am reminded of the fact that there's a rich heritage in the Sephardic tradition in which poetry is written, and specifically for Tu B'Shvat, Las Complas de la Noche de las Fruticas. Complas is a kind of Sephardic poetry, and this one was written specifically for the Night of the Fruits. So I won't read you that one. It's a very long poem, but I'm reminded. This poem was written, I went to look it up, October of 2022, from a much more optimistic, innocent time. And it's entitled Nature's Song. Have you ever heard the melody humming in your ears while you stroll by the sea? The woman fills her bottles from the fountain while her lilac skirt sways slowly in the breeze, tickling her left leg, balanced, poised in a perfect point behind her right one. The folds of skin like waves roll and ebb and roll. The dark man holds a sun-kissed boy in his arms, naked as the day of his birth, squirming under the droplets as the sea showers upon his skin. The father and his daughter waltzing, separate but in unison, knees bent, arms curled, they make a circle as they skateboard down the path, in rhythm with the wind, with the world. I am in awe of my senses and of the gift. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Michelle. Always good to have you here.
Hi, Mark Levinson here, Mark L. Levinson. I brought a poem by one of my favorite Yiddish poets, Robert Fürst. The Sound of the Trees. I wonder about the trees. Why do we wish to bear forever the noise of these more than another noise so close to our dwelling place? We suffer them by the day till we lose all measure of pace and fixity in our joys and acquire a listening air. They are that talks of going but never gets away, and that talks no less for knowing, as it grows wiser and older, that it now means to stay. My feet tug at the floor and my head sways to my shoulder sometimes when I watch trees sway from the window or the door. I shall set forth for somewhere. I shall make the reckless choice someday when they are in voice and tossing so as to scare the white clouds over them on. I shall have less to say, but I shall be gone.
Very well read, Mark. Great choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next poet is J. Brodbar, who wrote to me a few minutes ago to apologize for not being able to join us because his daughter is in labor right now, and at a home birth, and he has to look after the other children. So, b'sha'a tova, I will read in his stead. J. Yair Brodbar, untitled, It Is. It is too raw on the eye, too raw for the pen. The scene cannot be unseen. A crib, emptied save a small teddy sodden in curdles of blood. A young woman yanked out of an armored jeep, her back to the screen, cherry red splotches congealed on her jeans. A wall lined with family photos. Young marrieds, elders bearded, in old country sepias, a smile at the tractor's wheel. All mute, untouched, all else uprooted, overturned, strewn, more blood, more bullet holes. There are attempts at some relief. The sprawled toddler's face blurred and scrubbed, grieving with the newly bereft. We reach back to the ancients, Philomach Shakulim. Parents now, sundered heads, prostrate hands splayed across tables. We don't need to hear the wails. We know, we know. Yes, even the sounds somehow reach us. It is all too much. Words fail. Craft fails. So much has failed. Lior.
Thank you, Michael. Well, to come now after, well, let's take a breathe.
Yes, a breath. Yes.
Breath. So that's a simple recipe for a kumquat jam. First, bring a child to the world, plant a tree, get a ladder, and know to plank the moment of the orange green. Rinse under tap water one fruit at a time, stir in sugar to a simmer with a wooden spoon. Be cyclic. Put your faith in the slow. Learn to sense the rising scent. Listen to the sounds. Distill the silence that follows. Daddy, it's so fun to climb by myself. Now, take a chair, sit.
Beautiful.
Toda
Excellent.
rabba.
Thank you.
Yes, so perfect poem for Jay at this moment of his daughter giving birth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Karen.
From the Grove. I decided to give a poem of more of hope and communion for Tu B'Shvat than my usual. From the Grove. She treats me with olive oil for all my agonies when I have to leave the village in the morning. He tells me, when I come home, she cures my aching head, pours oil in my ear when I've heard terrible quarrels, massages my feet when I've worn shoes all day. At night she rubs oil all over my trembling heart. I never see her. The tea is on the table under the tree where we visit, with delicacies prepared in an invisible kitchen. We sit with our tea in the shade, and I know her tree is protecting me. I'm sure she is the one who nurtures the earth to make it bloom so, and holds out her wide skirt to catch the falling olives. Long after he has left the world, she sends me a flask, a caress of this year's soil.
Lovely, Karen.
Lovely. Thank you, Karen. Ben. Do we have Ben with us? No. Deborah.
Good evening. I wrote this very shortly after a walk one morning with my dog, and it reminds me of the transience of life. It's called A Wayward Cloud. A wayward cloud did swim across my view this dawn, a gray and tattered piece that smoldered, then was gone. Then another rumbled by, a room of billowed sky as smoked, and snaked its way due west, the sun still cloaked. He dared to dip so low in the sky. At first, I doubted the image of my eye. A shark in form and effort, it cut the airy waters. The land beneath so close like errant silver dollars. He maneuvered in space so gracefully. I watched it in fascination. His parts were woolly. At once an unseen force did slice his heart, breaking him into a myriad of smaller parts. Gusts of air from high and low, unseen currents everywhere, tugged and pulled him into tufts like a wounded teddy bear. Quickly, as he was pulled asunder, scattered pieces of himself, a lost leviathan soon forgotten, like a discarded toy on a shelf.
Thank you so much. And welcome to our gatherings, Deborah.
Thank you.
Seymour.
Good afternoon from frosty Canada. It's this was written as a light poem on Sunday. Little did I know we'd be reading it today, a day of mourning. There's so much loss in the present conflict. Just to maybe bring you a lighter view, when I attended the Montreal Hebrew Academy in the 1950s, it always seemed disconnected that we celebrated Tu b'Shvat in the school, and outside there was snow up to our shoulders. And we just could not conceive of what Tu b'Shvat was. We did know that there was a big, huge tree with hundreds of leaves. Well, there weren't that many hundreds of students in the school. And we all were supposed to put out a nickel and buy a leaf on the JNF tree. So we jokingly used to call it the Karen Kayemet tax among us young cynics. But it still is always a great disconnect when Tu b'Shvat comes and we have a Tu b'Shvat Seder in Canada, especially in subarctic Ottawa. And it's usually really cold. It's not as bad today, but it's really, really cold. It was, when I wrote the poem, I checked, it was minus 19 Celsius. So that's kind of, if you tell that to Israelis, you know, they just look in dumbfounded, they can't seem to grasp that, nor do my Argentinian friends can grasp that kind of cold. So I wrote this short poem in response to the wonderful invitation you sent me and to participate. And I thought, well, it's a bit anomalous to participate from Canada. But I did remember the wonderful Tu B'Shvats I did see and celebrate when I lived in Jerusalem in the 1980s. That was really a miraculous time and then afterwards would follow Tu B'Shvat, the blossoming of the desert, and it was an experience that you could never have anywhere in Canada. So you'll pardon me. I think you have an earlier version of the poem because I think we're missing a word. So I started the poem with Gewalt. It's a good Yiddish word. Gewalt, Tel Aviv friends, celebrating Tu B'Shvat in some Arctic Canada warms only the imagination. But I join you all, and luckily that you're going to see the almond trees in bloom, and I'm only going to see icicles and cold for another 2 months. And I'm hoping that by the time we get Passover, we'll be literally free of the winter.
Thank you very much, Seymour. And just as a reply to you, that the genius of the Kabbalists was really to allow Tu B'Shvat to become universalized, since the tree is you, and you are wherever you are. But let's move on.
Let me just add that Alden wrote an essay in which he imagined taking Wordsworth and dropping him by parachute into the Malaysian jungle and seeing what kind of nature poems he writes. And the same way I would say to the Kabbalists, whoever they were, if we could pick them up and drop them into subarctic Canada on Tu B'Shvat and see what they would come up with, you know.
Thank you. David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, let me just find you. 1 minute. Yes.
Am I mute or unmute?
You're fine.
So, Van Gogh or Van Gogh, you know the painting, or I hope you do. It's the cypress. There it is. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. And here we are. Seized by the clouds. Oh, of course, Don McLean did it better, but never mind. Across the swaying yellow fields, Vincent is startled by the stunted olive trees that stretch upwards, buffeted by the west wind, yearning to seize the scudding, restless clouds. How they envy their lone companion, a cypress, standing apart, alert, such strength in its dark purpose, while they are chained to their parched quest. How short the spooned out time Vincent has left to trap this pointless struggle, while the wheat heads shift and hiss their ripe displeasure at his presence. They are vipers. Last night, he dreamt that his thighs, suddenly muscular, propelled him upwards, effortless, to perch upon the cumulus and cirrus, and then he awoke in sadness, unkempt, imprisoned, his head tolling like a cracked church bell. That seductive memory will not leave. Vipers are curled beneath his feet. So now, with mustard-stained fingers, he stabs at the canvas, again, his sword a coarse hog-hair paintbrush. He shivers with desire for another absinthe, for someone to ease his lone journey of escape, to join him behind the lowering sky. The olive trees, the cypress, all murmur that Vincent, whimpering, will never see them flower, that his trembling torment will never be grasped and set aside by the fleeting, fleeing clouds. The vipers strike. Thought that would cheer you all up.
Yes, thank you for that.
Excellent, excellent.
I never noticed the red flowers here.
Oh yeah, the poppies.
The poppies, yes, thank you. Hmm. Mike Stone.
Hello. I hope you'll forgive me. I asked to read two poems. They're short, pretty short. They don't have much to do with Tu B'Shvat, but they do have a lot to do with our connection to nature. The grand scheme of things. The dark cloud squats heavily on the horizon, undecided whether to drift slowly over our dusty fields with its fat bladder, full of drought-quenching rains, or to drift up the coast a ways to quench the thirst of our enemies' fields. O Lord, I know it makes no difference in the grand scheme of things, but I can't help the fact it would make all the difference in the world to me. The second one is called Winter Over the North Sea. I wrote it on a flight back from the United States to Israel. A drop of water, cold and fresh, within its soft and trembling walls, hangs by a liquid thread to a twig on a branch and suddenly lets go, to be replaced by another and another. A bud, green and full of flower, in itself and yet part of the twig, part of the branch and tree, that is part of this gray drizzle and the beginnings of winter. Here in our land, where the cedar and pine meet the palm and the date, winter pries us open and extends our arms, fingers, and mouths to catch and cup every precious drop of heaven come down to earth. And things grow, and we are also things, thus we grow too.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Karen.
Pesach.
Okay, just a very brief introduction. In the Book of Kings, first Book of Kings, it tells us that Queen Jezebel and King Ahab threatened to kill Elijah, our prophet. So Elijah escaped and ran for his life down to the Negev. And it goes on and tells us in verse 4, V'hu halach bamidbar derech yom, v'yavo v'yashev tachat rotem achad. In English, and he went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under one rotem tree. That's the poem Under the Rotem Tree. Eliyahu Hadnavi was sitting under the rotem tree. From the wicked queen and king he fled with the shade of the rotem on his head. Oh, you wicked queen and king, why do you do this evil thing? You treat our prophet with no respect. Your spark of goodness I can't detect. Eliyahu is a man so fine. He comes every Pesach to drink some wine. But the queen and the king didn't care at all. They just worshiped their stupid Baal. But the prophet can foresee their fall. When Mashiach arrives, he'll sound the call. Then we'll go to Gan Eden, and all will be well. And the queen and the king can go to hell. Thank you.
For the astute amongst us, you will notice Pesach's, Rotem's names hidden within this text.
Thank you, Michael.
Very smart.
Rona, let us know where you are from.
Talking to myself here. I was still muted. I'm also in subarctic Ottawa, along with Seymour. So I just wanted to say thank you first, Michael and Karen, for bringing us all together in hope. It's very special. Where no light can enter. Tangerine and gold nasturtium petals nestled in 2 white window boxes, left and right of the wooden front door to my grandparents' white house. And in the side yard, my sister and I perched on the shaded limb of a knotted chokecherry, feasting on handfuls of wild raspberries, our fingers ruby red. The weathered wooden gate at the side of my own white house clicks closed now, and I am gathered in by a phalanx of pine green cedars, in whose shaded interior nasturtium tendrils nimbly thread a gray chaos of twisting branches and twigs. There, where no light can enter, the tangerine and gold nasturtium petals still bloom.
Thank you so much. Wow. Great. Mordechai. Mordechai, unmute, please. It's your turn.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Since Michael already quoted from the Kabbalists, I also took a verse from a Kabbalistic work called Yalkut Ulveni, and it relates to the oldest tree that we know in the Torah, which is the 2 trees that are in the Garden of Eden. So they're pretty old. Ancient poem. In the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge inhabits the same space as the tree of life. The years fall off me like amber leaves. I face the winter bald, sheer. The sun of Tammuz burnishes my soul. Far from my sprouting feet, my fruit lays, a scattering of memories. The taste of good and evil are in my mouth. My fruits have fallen from my heart, like children who will never return. Slowly the leaves fall. Beneath the knowledge of the sap and bark, branches and buds, blossoms and dead tree twigs, another tree is revealed, another life.
Wow.
Very fine.
Amazing, amazing. That's right.
Thank you, Mordechai.
Tada.
Libby.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to read a poem by my son, Gidon. He was here in the IDF and with defense for about 10 years. And then he left to he's now a national research director for the protection of synagogues. So he travels a lot. And in his traveling, he came across cowboy poets. American cowboys have a tradition of cowboy poetry that stems from English balladry. So it's very heavy on meter and rhyme. And it's, but the cowboys have made it heavily colloquial. They shorten words, they have their own jargon, and they talk mostly about ranch work. Gidon took this form and he transformed it a little bit because he's not a rancher, so he doesn't know about ranch work, but he wanted to try it in relation to the natural world, which he's in a great deal of the time. In this poem, I should say there's one word that I don't know if you'll all know. It's buckaroo, that comes from the Spanish word vaquero, but it's a friend in this case. It means a friend. another cowboy. So Gidi innovated on it, and he involved nature, and he set it in a natural setting. And he's climbing a mountain, so he's talking about the peace that nature can give, the sense of family, the sense of friendship. It's untitled. When you climb a mountain, you learn a thing or two about yourself and your fellow buckaroo. Your trotting feet, well, they make you think, and your beating heart makes the world shrink. Your mind sets loose and kind of transcends before you come down in the end. When you start the path and you lock the car, you never know if the top is close or far. Before charging up, you'd like to know the epilogue, but the long strewn years teach you to live in fog, smiling at strangers and nodding your head before you come down in the end. Then the going gets tougher and you breathe a little heavy, all the while flies buzzing and you getting sweaty, and you measure in your head how far you've come, wondering if your rhythm is to the right drum. You talk less to your pal, but he calls you friend before you come down in the end. You start to wonder if it's over yet. Maybe you start feeling some regret. Are you closer to the car or to the peak? The years and the trails have made you weak. You push on with a smile, albeit pretend, before you come down in the end. Well, now the trees, they start to thin, and you're thinking you're about to win, only to come to a false peak. And your breath's so short you hardly speak. So you look back where trees and rocks blend before you come down in the end. Finally, exasperated, as if this hike was ill-fated, on the silent giant you stand atop with not much to do, like a stage prop. You think about the things you've done, what sort of person you were, how far you come, and if there's another mountain to ascend before you come down in the end. And when you're down and night has fallen, it feels real lonely, and your family's calling from another place beyond the bend. Then you come down to the end.
Fantastic. You can imagine the cowboys. Well read. Thank you, Libby.
Sure.
And tell your son it's good, and next time he should read it with us.
I'll tell him.
Michael.
With roots that delve in ancient loam and branches reaching for the sun, the trees awake, a verdant poem. Tu bshvat's magic has begun. The almond whispers soft and shy, a promise whispered on the breeze of blooms soon to paint the sky, and hummingbirds amongst the leaves. The fig tree stretches strong and wise, its gnarled hands reaching for the rain, and dreams of figs that sweeten skies, and sun-kissed fruits to ease the pain. The olive whispers silver green, a symbol of peace and hope renewed, its leaves a balm, a healing sheen. For hearts and lands by war imbued, the date palm sways a desert song of sweetness held in golden spheres, a taste of bounty all year long. Through sun and drought, through joys and tears, so join the dance beneath the bough, where sup runs sweet and birds take flight. Let earth's green pulse renew your vow. On Tu bshvat celebrate the light, for in each leaf a hope takes root, in every bud a promise gleams. Tu bshvat song, a joyful fruit that binds us to our verdant dreams.
Wow.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Michael. Jacqueline.
Good evening. Season change. I begin at her halfway point and continue. She gets stuck in my throat and I laugh. She gets stuck in my throat and I cough up her memories until my head spins. My head spins with the world she taught. On Christmas, I think of her preparing for death. Her wet pink limbs a delicacy for the earth. The recipe for hope is to chuck false hope. There is no recipe for hope but seasoning. If this is in the pot, I'm going to break. If this is in my pot, I'll break the cycle. The seasons reassert they are my birth. Noticing all the things that are born is birth. Only in this way can I hope to continue.
That's powerful.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Jacqueline.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Hmm. Hannah.
Hi. This is a poem that I wrote when I was in Charmouth, England. It was sort of the first place where what the transcendentalists say and what the Rambam says about seeing God in nature, finally, I understood it. So this is called Charmouth. Upon this field, I lay my blanket down, lift up my eyes to rolling hills of green, behold the trees still as on hallowed ground, and search my soul for what my eyes have seen. Beneath the streams of sunlight piercing through to warm my cheek and every living being, soft winds caress the acres within view and close my eyes to open newfound seeing. This empire every moment is remade. To look at it is to perceive its king, the great creator bursting from each blade, his work a chorus that no man can sing. And yet this one refrain is sweetest still, for all his works lay bare upon this hill.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Just wonderful.
Moment of enlightenment, huh?
Very much so. And a sonnet, because I was in England. It felt fitting.
Thank you.
I think it's iambic pentameter.
It is, yes.
Wonderful.
Wow. Wendy.
Yes, okay. First of all, could I congratulate Dina Yehuda, who has just won the first prize in the Voices Israel Reuben Rose International Competition, just so that you'll know.
Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome. This poem was quite a challenge because we always think of Tu B'Shvat as being a wonderful celebration of nature. And now we're having to juxtapose it with the disaster that is going on around us that continues, and we don't know how it will end. Buds of hope. The anemone is a modest flower, standing alone in the cold dark of winter. As the days begin to lighten, it heralds a riot of color. Excuse me. That soon will carpet the killing fields of the south, the blood-drenched soil churned over by tanks and armory. In Africa, forests are destroyed and small children sent to mine lithium. In our land, our children plant new trees with song and treats, welcoming the first white almond flowers. Orange blossom perfumes the air. It was feared that the destroyed soil in the south would kill the buds of the anemone, but those first bursts of this modest flower give strength and hope, as did the poppies that grew on Flanders fields.
Oh. Thank you, Wendy.
Loss.
Ali Ben Yosef.
This is from a different painting of a cypress, not the same painting that was shown before. Tango cypress. Here are sun and moon, gold and silver, balanced in a twilight sky above a road. A wobbly cypress dances with the orbs from painter's brush to spectator's awe, as pulsing globes glide in skies, lighting pedestrian and passenger the way beside a cypress swaying with the lights, born in swirling line and striking soul, betraying or reflecting an artist's mind, whirling strokes tying parts and whole.
Wow. Thank you so much. Stephen.
Morning's dance. Poplars so tall, so slow dancing and flowing, calling to sleep's gentle aura, with motions like seas, wafting and waving, pinnacles perfection, parting from norms, their footsteps, ballet's majesty crowned in the morning, pendulums throbbing, bells swaying, calming, the color red, oozing far, far from here, where crushed tomatoes and hearts, all unveiled, tell a different story. And if you allow me to read a second, also about trees. Slow time, walking day, branches breathe to time's riddling motions, toward different drummers, slow fasted when it matters, clocks pulsing, winds shifting, circling, arms open through motions choosing. All laced up, each branch celebrates free form's pleasuring of eyes, ears, a soulful murmuring with sun's warming, sheenful release that heals those who hear nature's crooning.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you, Stephen.
Very nice.
It conjures up music. I can sense the music behind the words.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'm moving back and forth with the lines.
Moving.
Living off the land around the bay. Fennel growing in the vacant lots and chamomile growing in the sidewalk cracks. White wine in a clear plastic cup left out after a party on the brick wall that protects the garden in Pacific Heights. Ripe blackberries plucked from thorny brambles. Baked potatoes and pizza crusts exhumed from the trash on Telegraph Avenue. Discarded vegetables selected from the overflowing co-op refuse bin. The store's free samples offered with a smile. A piece of bread the baker gives when asked. The tender cherry plums on Essex Street. Lamb's tongue and mustard greens from the fields. Miner's lettuce near the shady Park Creek. Windfall apples from the Crossroads orchard. sun-dried pears clustered along a fence on a country road in a time of drought. All these and more to be savored and enjoyed, manna born of earth, rain, and seed, human labor and nature's fecundity, more than enough to feed this tramp.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Very, very.
Wonderful.
Beautiful, Reuben.
I love it.
Wow.
It's also good to see your eyes, Reuven.
Thank you, Michael.
Very
Yes.
second poem.
Essex Street is wonderful.
Do you know which one that is?
Sandra.
Perfect.
Sandra? Apparently Sandra is not with us.
Is Sandra here?
I don't see her. Would somebody like to read this?
I would, and I just want to say that Sandra has suffered a terrible loss recently.
Oh.
So we sent her our love. Autumn by Roy Campbell. I love to see when leaves depart, the clear anatomy arrive, winter, the paragon of art, that kills all forms of life and feeling, save what is pure and will survive. Already now the clanging chains of geese are harnessed to the moon. Stripped are the great sun-clouding plains, and the dark pines their own revealing, led in the needles of the noon. Strained by the gale, the olives whiten like hoary wrestlers bent with toil, and with the vines, their branches lighten to brim our vats where summer lingers in the red froth and sun-gold oil. Soon, on our hearth's reviving pyre, their rotted stems will crumble up, and like a ruby panting fire, the grape will redden on your fingers through the lit crystal of the cup.
That's good.
Well read, Dina. Thank you. DB. DB Jonas.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, just a moment.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. This is Dan from subarctic New Mexico. I didn't think I had a poem for this session, but I found this one. I rejected a bunch because they didn't have the term hope in them. This doesn't either, but I think in the context of today's readings, it'll work just fine. Georgic's in a plague year. In the busy silence, the humic dark, beneath the parching surface of this orchard, fungal fingers in their trillions reach from their arboreal hosts into the teeming duff, thrusting involuntary charity into the unseen, insinuating their air-gathered nitrous nurture through the verging root zones of this soil's woody progeny, rising into the canopy under which we wander each morning, drawn to the foliar shadowland of this soil's stately, ecstatic upwellings, into the verdure that extracts from us a litany of names as we pass, an involuntary murmur that rises to our tongue. Esopus Spitzenberg, Calville Blanc d'Hiver, Brown Snout, Tompkins County King. Elsewhere in this orchard, deep in the quiet of a juniper's shade, elsewhere along this dimensionless mobile surface of living tissue that is nature's space, the ichneumon, burrowing wasp, This orchard's prodigal pollinator mantles over her ill-starred cicada, recruits her ideal nursery, and deftly insinuates between its lovely chitinous plates the paralyzing ovipositor, enacts her immemorial maternity, her selfless, heartless immolation, enabling posterity to incubate, emerge, and consume the living entrails of the hapless iridescent host in a future, for a future she herself will never see. Thus, the ethic of this world, the nature of our nature, is spoken everywhere in this garden. This Pardes, this unremitting holocaust of transpiration and expiration, this carnival of fecundity, theater of cruelty and boundless goodness and nourishing waste, heedless of our human sentiment, to expose the life of the living as ever the gift of another, ever an expense of the predecessor and the neighbor. And if truth indeed be beauty, whose vivid spectacle confounds us in this place, the truth of this beauty, my Juliana, is never easy.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, you got the cruelty as well as the goodness that I think we're all feeling today.
Wow, brilliant poem, brilliant.
Wonderful.
Amazing witness to nature.
Beautifully written.
You have such a closeness to the land that I feel I don't have. You know, the understanding of the land and how it works, and of every small particle that lives there. And it's really a knowledge which is, you know, wonderful.
It was incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Yeah. Oh, this is me. Okay. Hope. What is this? Something has come. Okay. 100 days is a lifetime lost when life is caged in darkness, when even the heart's most valiant attempt to endure is drowned in the hatred and rage of a neighbor's crave to destroy and kill. Remember the 7th of October, which marked Simchat Torah. Oh, the horror on that holy day, when from the fields of love and music, hostages were ripped into tunnels. And now, in the green season of Tu B'Shvat, as the soil awakes and allows its young to emerge and bloom, we wait for miracles and accords to free hostages held in places unknown in that strip called Gaza, where our army tracks the guerrilla forces to find and free our people and return them to the promised land.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you. Dina.
Amen. Surprisingly, D.B. Jonas also referred to Keats and Truth is Beauty. Sabras. No soft, shiny leaves for us. Proud of our sharp spines and prickly scales, Hardened by drought, we hoard the rain. Not popular like roses, not expecting to be loved for our soft, fragile beauty, we have grown arid hearts, have taken the desert into our stony skin, its versatile wisdom, each striving grain of sand. Truth is not beauty, nor beauty truth. We are the unbeautiful truth, and that has its sweetness too.
Thank you, Dina, and
Wonderful.
congratulations
Yeah,
on
very
your
nice.
prize, on your award.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dina. Beautiful poem.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And finally, winter is ending. Winter will end, my dear. The winter will end. The snow will melt, and the air will warm. The buds will appear, and the blossom, like sugar flower, will sprinkle the land. The buried bulbs will push up, yearning for the light, opening, spreading their radiant colors like precious jewels. And so will you. And so will you flower into the precious beauty, God's gift to her lover. And the giggling of your laugh, like the refreshing spring waters jumping down great ascents, will again touch the heart of your desire. Winter is ending, my dear. Your winter is ending.
Amen. Beautiful.
Beautiful poem.
Very good, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Beautiful.
Michael, we should get you this gift of perfume that I saw in Superfarm, which said, God is a woman.
I know that. I'm married to one.
Beautiful poem and ends
Thank
with
you.
hope.
Yes.
Gregory Corso said, God, she's black.
Yeah.
We always have to end with hope. And you've done an amazing job, Michael, of combining or embodying the horrors, the terrible things that have happened to us in the past few months, and yet at the same time giving us this amazing hope of spring, of new beginnings. I think we all need it and we all appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Until the next time we meet again.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for this inspiring evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.